Hello and welcome to this second tutorial how to load and unload parts from an EWAB line in Visual Components. But first I would like to show you that we have a EWAB demo layout inside of the e-catalog. This demo layout can show you what possibilities you have with the EWAB parts in Visual Components right now. But now let's continue with the tutorial. We will start where we ended in the first tutorial. We created a single loop, and this will be also the base of this tutorial as well. The only difference is that I imported a part, and that part we will later on transport on our line on our workpiece carrier. For that, we need to bring in some flow components from the e-catalog. For this tutorial, we need to have the process node, and we also need to have the sync process. I'm starting by bringing in the process node onto our line and choosing the position where the loading should happen. Then I can copy over the process node and also connect that to the line, and I can check where I would like to have the unloading happen onto our line. Then, according to the unloading, I'm placing the sync process. So when that is done, I'm doing a copy of the feeder, because for the moment we are only creating workpiece carriers, and we now also need to create parts. In this tutorial, I would like to have the transportation via robots. So I'm choosing the robot transport controller from the catalog and place it where I would like to have the loading and later on where I would like to have the unloading. But my feeling was that for these small parts, the base is even too big. So I'm changing the settings according to my needs. I can then also copy over the robot controller and place it where the unloading should happen. What I'm doing as first is renaming the controllers, because otherwise I might forget it. When that is done, we are also bringing robots into our scene, and for this example we are sticking to the generic robot which is coming directly with Visual Components. I can connect that to the robot controller and also a copy to another robot controller. And now I've seen that they are a bit too big, so I can luckily shrink them a bit down in size and can do that also for the other robot. When I'm happy with the result where the robots should be, so where the loading and unloading should happen, I need to have some robot tools. For this example, a gripper. And as we anyway choose the Visual Components part, I'm also sticking to the generic gripper from Visual Components directly. I changed some of the parameters, in this example the length, because the gripper fingers were a bit too small for my use case. And then I can copy over the gripper to another robot as well. So the line looks good for my needs, and now we can start with the process section in Visual Components. First up, we need to work on our parts. So for the moment, we are just only having the workpiece carrier, and now we need to add another product type, and then I directly rename it as part. We then also need to select the part. So now in the second feeder, I changed the part to part. So now I'm checking if all the parts will appear in the right way. Yes, we have a workpiece carrier and we have the part on the right feeder. So now we can go over to the process. And first up, again, I am naming the process nodes in a convincing way for a better overview. I'm also doing that for the feeders to have a better overview. And when that is done, for a better, cleaner look, I'm closing all of the windows and heading over to the flow to set up where the parts should flow. First, I'm starting with the loading, and directly I'm choosing the loading robot as the transportation way. Then in the second step, I'm also defining the unloading process to the sink. Here I'm also selecting the unloading process as the transportation way. When that is done, we are going over to the process section and starting to build up the logic. First, one advice here is I'm changing the trigger at on all of the process nodes to origin. That makes a better result by placing the parts. So then I'm starting with the loading. For the loading, we need to have another transport in, because we are transporting in first the workpiece carrier, which is coming from the component container. We directly name it in the right way. And what I'm also doing is a product type filtering. The second transport in will be coming from the previous process, and I will directly rename it as part, also use the product type filtering, and then I also need to have an attach node. When I have both brought in, then I need to attach them together. So the parent here should be the workpiece carrier and the child should be the part. When that is done, I can transport them out, and I would like to do that on the component container, and will also rename that in the right way. So the loading should be done. I can now close it and start with the unloading process node. Here we are also bringing in the workpiece carrier, which is coming from the conveyor, so component container, and name it in the right way. I'm also choosing the filter on product type. But I would like to transport out two parts, and that is the reason why we need to have another transport out. Also, we need to detach both parts from each other. So after bringing in the part, we are separating the products from each other. So in the first, we will type in the workpiece carrier, and the to detaching part is the part. Then the first transport out will be the part, which will go to the next process, and the second will be going on the conveyor, so component container, which will be the workpiece carrier. So when that is done, I'm going to the home section, and we can play the simulation and can see that it's working. The parts will be loaded onto our workpiece carrier, will be transported over the line, and then will be unloaded and will be synced. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.